My guest Stella was so desperate to save her marriage, she made her husband raise money from everyone they knew so he could go to inpatient rehab for 3 months. She got rid of his smartphone, gave him a flip phone. She moved their family to a tent on an off-grid farm, 2 babies and pregnant with her third. But nothing worked. She was still raging so hard at the grocery store that she feared her unborn baby would die. Her 4-year-old daughter started wetting the bed and wouldn't stop for years. And late one night, her daughter walked into her bedroom and asked the question that changed everything. Mommy, you're never going to leave Daddy, right? In that moment, Stella realized she'd been fighting the wrong battle the entire time. Real women, real marriage transformations. This is the Empowered Wife podcast. Today, you'll hear what Stella discovered that finally brought peace to her home and transformed her from a woman her husband's family worried about into the wife he writes love letters to again. Stay till the end for the Try It Tonight takeaway. Stella, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, Laura. I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Well, let's take it from the beginning. Like, how did you know that your husband was the guy? Like, what attracted you to him?
We fell in love, both of us. He might as well have been Jesus himself in my mind because he was just perfection to me. And then probably like 6 months in, we got super serious and we're already talking about marriage at like 19. And then we ended up breaking up. We ended up coming back together. Needless to say, by the time we ended up getting engaged, I was beyond sure that this was my husband. Like, I felt on a very deep level, God had sent him to me. We were meant to be. There was so much confirmation, no doubt. It wasn't easy because I had a lot of traumatic stuff in my past. I had a lot of, trust issues and my emotions would come and go. And I just knew for sure this was my husband.
So when did things start to feel like they weren't going so well?
I would back up even before the wedding. So when we got together the second time, we were long distance, most of both relationships. So the second relationship, I was in Germany, he was in Spain. He was playing semi-professional basketball there. We ended up getting engaged. And the plan was for us to move to Spain for him to continue his lifelong dream of professional basketball. And he had mentioned to me in both of our relationships that helping men get free from watching pornography was something he felt really passionate about. So I knew it was something that he actually felt like he wanted to speak to college students about it and everything. And I knew it was part of his story, but naively I thought, if this is what you're passionate about, surely it's not an active thing that's happening. Right, so right. I never even thought to ask. Basically, once we got engaged, I ended up moving to the States. He was still playing in his season overseas, and we saw each other only one time during the engagement. And so we started having these conversations because I knew we needed to do counseling, which he had never done before. One of the conversations was finances. And I didn't go to college because I was anti-debt and I never had a credit card. And then when we got into that conversation, he had a lot of student debt and he had some credit cards. The first break in trust happened for me. I was just like disturbed. Like, what? And you're just now telling me this and you have no plan of paying it off. I just started spiraling. So this started this tension even during our engagement of me trying to control things and this tension being there. And I started doubting, okay, are you going to get a different job though? And it was just like the more we got into these serious conversations, the more anxiety I got and the more controlling and disrespectful I started becoming. And honestly, Laura, I don't know why he even went all the way to the altar with me because I was so disrespectful to him so many times, even in our engaging and even in our dating life. Like, this fear would just come up where I would like almost test him and then tell him why he's wrong. The engagement is when it started really boiling. So by the time he came back for the wedding, the plan was that it was 2 weeks before the wedding, he was coming back and we would move to Spain together 2 weeks after the wedding. So he comes, and day 2 of being back in America, we had expedited premarital counseling. So double sessions each week before the wedding. First session, counselor looks at him and is like, so, when is the last time you watched pornography? And he's like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but basically he said right before our engagement, and my world crumbled. I was like, what? Like, everything, I started to question everything. I'm like, what? He does this? Like, what? That's only 6 months ago. I was losing it. Then we're 2 days out from the wedding. There's literally guests arriving into my parents' home, and I'm standing at the front door, And Elijah looks at me and he's like, I need you to come with me. We need to talk, but we can't talk here. I'm like, okay, I'm hanging on by one thread. Like, what could this be, right? We go in a car. I'm not even wearing shoes. He like tells me to get in the car. We drive off. We go to this old church parking lot. I remember this like it was yesterday because it was out of a movie, horror film. So we pull up and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna get straight to it. Like I lied when she asked me when was the last time I watched pornography. I've struggled throughout our engagement and I just can't go to the altar on a lie. So I just need to tell you that, and you make whatever decision you need to make.
Oh.
And I literally felt like, when you just feel like you leave and you're in a vortex and you're like, what is happening? I am in shock. And Laura, I'm not kidding. In this very moment, a police officer pulls up next to us. And just don't even have to mention all the tensions of a black man sitting next to me in this moment in an abandoned church parking lot. I'm already in a state of frantic. And the police officer's like, boom, boom, boom. You guys are trespassing. What are you doing? Give me your license. And he looks at the police officer and he goes, sir, I just confessed some sins to my fiance and we need a moment. And he goes, okay, pull out and please go to that parking lot over there. So pull out. We go to the other parking lot. I'm frantic at this point. I'm like, how can I believe anything? Basically, I don't remember what I said or did, but this was the first moment of many moments to come of me losing my mind and going off verbally and trying in every way to control something that I cannot control. I start asking a million questions. What are you doing? Where are you doing this? You need to delete Instagram. So that was what I cling on to. I'm like, is Instagram somewhere where this happened? I just started obsessing, and he was being resistant and was like, this is not an addiction. Like, this is something I don't want to do. And I'm like, you're in denial. So I literally ran out of the car barefoot, running around this parking lot in a park, and he's chasing me. I'm crying. I'm like, you need to be in therapy. I'm going to call off this wedding. Mind you, the wedding's in 2 days, right? Guests are arriving. So we have this emergency meeting. I call our pastor, who's like 78 years old at this point. I'm like, this is like 8 p.m. or something at this time. We go to his house and he's asking Elijah's questions. He's asking me questions. My heart is so hardened. I'm like, there's no way I can marry this man in 2 days. No way. There's no way. Like, how could I marry him? He lied to me. And I'm not safe. I was just in a total fear state. And I don't know how to explain except for the supernatural power of God showed up in this meeting with this pastor. He like asked Elijah a few questions, and Elijah was clearly sorry. It's not something that he was wanting to do, and he was showing that. And he looked at me and he asked for forgiveness. And again, my heart was so hard, and I was hearing all these lies like, you can't trust him, you're making a mistake. And then the pastor was at a loss. He kept closing his eyes and just praying. He's just like praying, like, what do I even do right now? And at one point he goes, Elijah, I think you should get in front of Stella and get on your knees and pray over her. And I was like, this is so weird. And my feet were barefoot. Remember, I didn't have shoes on. I had never seen Elijah cry. That was something I found very strange. He said he couldn't cry. He hadn't in years. In this moment, Elijah starts weeping, literally weeping buckets of tears. They're falling on my feet. And as this is happening, there's a verse from the Bible where there's, this sinful woman, like someone who's maybe in prostitution or something like that. And she's caught and she comes before Jesus and she's like weeping over his feet. And the Pharisees are judging the whole situation. They're like, if he knew who this woman was, like he would never let her touch him. And there's this line where he kind of reads their mind, I guess is what it seems in the scriptures. And he says like, those who are forgiven much will love much. And he receives her, right? He lets her do that. And that verse was in my mind and it was like a miracle. My heart was softened and it was like, those who are forgiven much will love much. And I just could forgive him, like just miraculous. And I felt peace and I felt close to him and I felt trust and I knew it was the right thing. He literally deleted his Instagram and said, I will stay here and I will get the help that you want me to get. Gave up his dream. And that was the beginning of a literal nightmare in terms of how things felt. There was no honeymoon phase, really. There was just intensity from the beginning of like a lot of broken trust and me having these huge triggers over not just, that issue, but really everything at this point. If he went and bought a donut, this actually happened. Okay. He saw the hot sign on and he went and bought a donut that wasn't in our budget. And I cried and screamed as if he went and slept with another woman. Like I was not okay. I was not okay. And the way I was reacting was, yeah, I needed help, and I thought he was the issue. It was just a bunch of pressure and stress. He was now looking for a new career with zero motivation because I pooped on all of his dreams because I felt like they wouldn't provide money for us. They were like pipe dreams in my mind. And his family was super concerned and feeling like, what just happened to you? Because they really liked me before. But after this and his decision making, they were like, now I can see why they were concerned. He did things he didn't want to do from that point on because they were what me and the people around us, our pastors, our mentors, whatever, were advising he needed to do to grow in humility and re-earn trust. And then very quickly, he got into a support group and I got into a support group for betrayed wives. And I was in that for years. And that's a great environment. You're just sitting around with people who are being betrayed by their husband and talking about how awful it feels. And my fear is just building. And I was so obsessed with what he was doing that I truly, I stopped living my life. I completely stopped taking care of myself. I wasn't hanging out with my friends anymore. I wasn't going out and doing social things. On top of that, we were struggling financially. And again, it's like, it just felt like my life was ruined by this marriage. But I knew, okay, I'm called to this. So I always held on to that faith of like, there's going to be a purpose in this. But year after year after year after year. And then we had babies quickly. And actually, Laura, it's very embarrassing to say, but this one story, I got pregnant with our first daughter, Alani Stella, and we were driving to the birth center, and he decides to confess to me because that was, what everyone thought was a great idea, that I'm his accountability partner. So he confesses to me that he struggled once again on our way to the appointment. I have Chick-fil-A in my hand, and I just chuck the Chick-fil-A at the window while we're driving. The sauce sprays everywhere. I start screaming cuss words, like, just go into full-on pity victim rage out mode. Like, how can you do this to me? Do you not see that I'm carrying our child? Like, what else needs to happen? Just going at him. We're about to be late to the appointment. We get into the appointment. Of course, she checks my blood pressure, and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay. And every appointment, especially that one though, I was afraid that my daughter would be dead because of the amount of rage that I had. Like the type of rage I had inside of me over these months and even years was like, it was scary. And it didn't feel like a place that a child could survive in my womb in the midst of, especially when I would freak out like that. And so I actually had one time after church, similar thing. I'm freaking out to the point of I'm about to drive the car off the road. I'm getting so angry. And I ended up leaving for 3 days. And I told him, I made him get rid of his smartphone, got rid of his smartphone, had a flip phone for a year. And then I convinced him that he needed to go to inpatient rehab. And he literally fundraised, Laura, wrote letters to everyone we know to go to this inpatient rehab for 3 months up until right before we had our baby so that he could get well, so that I would feel okay and I would, we would be in a better place when he got out of there. And he did that until I got pregnant with my second daughter, which was 3 years after the first. I knew, I can't do another pregnancy like that. I cannot, that's irresponsible is what it felt like of me. Like something has to change. Either I have to, without having the language for it, I realized like I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out in the way that I'm behaving. And I have to like choose to be well. And I don't know how, but my cousin's wife, Sage, she had found your podcast and your book, and she had been very open about, she was actually who I escaped to. Her and Samuel is who I escaped to in those 3 days when I left and told him he had to go to rehab. And at that point, they were just some of the most honest people in also being miserable. We would just not commiserate about our misery, but just kind of feel like, oh, well, at least we're not the only ones who hate our marriage and will stay married anyways. And so I remember when she told me that she was like listening to your podcast and reading this book, I was very thrown off because it didn't really fit who I thought she was and what I thought she would be saying to me. And so it really piqued my curiosity. And she was telling me, Stella, this is changing things like nothing has ever changed anything before. And I was like, And so she started these little group calls with some of her friends just sharing about it. And this is while I was pregnant with Hadassah Shalom, my second daughter. And I started experimenting with some of the skills, and specifically self-care was like a revolutionary idea to me, because I think, in a lot of Christian circles, or I'll just say from my experience, I'm not sure if someone told me this or if I just like caught this or just thought this myself, but this idea of being one with your husband made me lose myself. Like, it's almost like I thought Stella was gone and now it's Elijah and Stella and we're literally one. Like, it's one, what he does is me, basically. There was no seeing the opposite. Like, I couldn't see myself without him anymore. And it was showing. And basically this idea of like, at that point he was still confessing to me, and I was like crying to her one day, and she was paying for RHW, and so she was like kind of almost trying to coach me, and she just gave me this idea of like, what do you think about experimenting with like telling him that you just can't do this? Like, it sounds like you just can't show up as who you want to show up as, and you keep running into the same issue, and maybe it's like, just try it out. And I was like horrified when she said that. I'm like, what? This goes against everything that everyone has said to us. Like, I'm his helpmate. I gotta help him. Like, no, how would I know? How would we have a connection if he's not being honest with me, and then he's betraying me and he's doing something and it's impacting me and I don't know? It just was like so outside of my brain thinking capacity at that point. But I was desperate, and I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I said to him, hey, and she said, like, tell him you trust him, that he's got this. You see that he went all the way to inpatient rehab for you. Like, he clearly cares. He goes to support groups. He knows what to do. Like, he's got this, Stella. Just tell him you trust him. I was like, I'll try it. So I go to him and I'm like crying, and I'm just like, hey, I can't do this anymore. I want to respect you, and I trust that you want to be free from this and you want to be faithful to me, and I know that you know what you need to do that. And I can't be who I want to be as a person and as a wife, especially pregnant right now, in this dynamic. And so I can't do this anymore. Don't tell me anything anymore about that area of your life. I said it to him, and he was stunned, and he was like, are you sure? Like, he's like, I don't even, and he said something to me that shocked me. He was like, I don't know how he said it to me, but something along the lines of like, this kind of scares me. Like, I feel like I've been putting if you're good with me, God's good with me. Like, that's the level I had put you at. And I don't know. He's like, I think this will be good, but it will be very different. And when he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is horrible. Like, what? It just gave me a glimpse of how sick this dynamic that we had was, and how like off the position that I was in was. Like, as if I get to, tell him he's good in the place of God or something. Like, So we tried it out, and my pregnancy was vastly different. I was peaceful. My birth was vastly different. This birth was like boom, bam, bow. She was out. It was great. And he was with me, and we were a team. And not that he wasn't with me the first time, but like, I was able to receive from him, and I took care of myself. I got all the appointments I needed, massages, chiropractic care. Like, I took advantage of everything that I could, and I received it all. And I let go of finances, which was crazy. I did that in that experimentation as well. And not perfectly, but there was definitely breakthrough. I burned our life to the ground. I literally, in this time that he had of sobriety or whatever, both of us have always felt called to help people and help couples specifically since we first met, honestly. And we were building out this whole ministry to help couples and coach them and all this stuff. We moved to an off-grid farm, and we lived in a tent with our 2 children for weeks. And I thought that was going to save us. Just another grand idea to get him away from electronics. And, it just was getting more and more extreme each attempt. Like, this didn't work. I got another idea.
Didn't do it. So now there's no electricity. There's no internet.
There's nothing here. So whatever, it didn't work, to say the least. And we went and visited some of our friends, and he ended up telling me that he looked at an image, and I lost my mind. And that was the lowest of the low, low, low. Okay. So We leave the farm. I don't even go. I make him go, pack up all our stuff, come back. And Samuel was visiting from Guatemala with Sage, my cousin, who introduced me to this several years before, walks into our biggest fight yet, where I'm literally saying to him, I think I'm going to have to leave. Like, I'm just going to have to leave. Samuel walks in, and he's this I think you had him on the podcast. He's a very straightforward German man. He cuts no corners. So he's like, what's going on here? What's going on? Are you guys okay? Do you want to talk about it? And both of us felt a lot of trust with him. So we open up to him. We're like, look, this is where we're at. I'm crying. I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, how long? It's been 6 years. And he's, listening, whatever. We tell him about this ministry that we've been trying to do their stuff. And he looks at us and he goes, well, sounds like that ministry works for some people, but doesn't look like it's working for you. And I was like, what? And then he's like, and you know what, Stella? If you need to leave or if you don't feel safe, then you need to do that. But if you feel safe enough, and if you don't think that he's really cheating on you, okay, then I think you should at least give it a month or 2 months, and you should sign up for the Laura Doyle program, get the coaching. Sage has changed our marriage. I can't even explain exactly how. And he was like, these things work. They work. And he just started going off about how, I know you have savings. You just sold your house. So you need to pay for it and just try that before you quit. And I was like, I can't even argue with that. All right, I'll try it. So I agree. I signed up for RHW the next day. And wow, it only took like 5 days for me to realize, wow, I have been utterly disrespectful and controlling our entire marriage, starting in our engagement. And it was like, I think I got one coaching with Coach Steph, but I just like watched group calls for a while, and then she coached me on something. And at this point, I'm missing a detail. Remember, he quit basketball for me, right? 5 years later, basketball comes back up. So this is happening right as I'm starting to watch these calls, and I'm like, oh my God, we have this much money left in savings. I have desires for what I want to do with that money. And I'm like, am I going to relinquish control? Basically, am I going to try something new? Am I going to give it a go with the skills for real, basically? And I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump off the edge, like all my eggs in the basket. I'm going to freaking do this now. So I wrote this long apology letter, taking accountability, Laura Doyle style. I am sorry for disrespecting you when I did everything I could think of. And just really took accountability. And then I wrote a whole nother letter where gosh, the control was probably even more intense than the disrespect, just in terms of how psychotically I was controlling everything. Like where he worked for years, what he did, when he did it, where he was allowed to work out. I write down everything. I'm like, I relinquish control over the password of your laptop. I relinquish control of you not having a smartphone. I relinquish control of where you want to work out. I relinquish control of if you want to go play ball overseas. I relinquish control of the rest of our savings. I relinquish control of who you talk to and when you talk to them. I asked him one day while he was sitting on the couch, I'm like, hey, I wrote you 2 letters. I would really like to read them to you. There was a lot of tension at our house at this point. I mean, blow up fights that were traumatic for our children to see, like just bad. Right before this. So there was tension between us. And so I read these letters to him, and I just remember him like he took this deep breath and like all this oxygen just left him. And I remember like a tear just coming out of his eye and him just being like, wow, thank God. And then he was like, and this is very weird timing. Like, have you been listening to my phone calls? And I'm like, no, haven't been listening to your phone calls. Why? And he was like, well, I've been talking to this guy and like one of his mentors that I knew kind of who he was. And I knew he was helping him because he used to play basketball overseas. And so he was like training with him and stuff. And this is an older man who's been married for a long time and stuff. And he really looked up to him. And he's like, yeah. And he's been telling me like, this is really toxic. Like when I told him that I'm not going to play basketball and he asked me why, he kept pressing me. And I, was telling him because I've broken trust with you. And he just started asking questions like, okay, did you cheat on her while playing basketball? Like, what are we saying right now? This is not normal. She can't tell you not to do things that you want to do to provide for your family. And he was basically pushing him. And Elijah is trying to cover me. Like, no, man, you don't know. Like, I've really hurt her. And, but on the inside, he was starting to feel like, yeah, maybe this is not good. And I could tell, like, there was other guys telling him, like, this is not healthy. Like, she should not be coming at you this way. So his confidence in himself and what was right or wrong was he started feeling himself like something is way off about our dynamic. So when I said this to him, it was just like, whoa, she sees it too. And so he was just like, thank God. And yes, basically. So basically, one desperate little night, I'm rocking my baby, and I just have the thought, you know what? I'm going to make a video and send it to the people who love me that I'm not okay and I really want to do relationship coach training. Pray for a miracle or send me money. That's literally what I did. And then like 3 days later, someone says, hey, we want to pay for this for you. Oh. And you don't even have to pay us back until you literally start making money coaching. And then there's no interest either.
Oh my gosh. Oh
literally.
My gosh. Just express your desire. Oh man.
Express my desire to the Most High and to some friends and family. And he made a way. So I immediately sign up and I immediately get back into coaching, and Coach Inga, just one coaching with Coach Inga, and she was just like, I want you to press into gratitude for the social help that you're receiving from Germany, which was my biggest shame factor, my biggest pain point, my biggest resentment. And she was like, what are you grateful for it? And the amount of things that I can be grateful for about it was, embarrassing about the fact that I was missing like everything that was in front of me. And we're living in this quaint little village that is totally safe in the mountainside of Germany with 10 hikes I can easily go on with our kids, with long-haired cows and lambs. And I can walk to the kindergarten my kids go to, and there's beautiful sunshine sometimes, and sometimes there's amazing snow, and we can go sledding. And my husband is at home all the time. He cooks me steaks like every day because he was on this special diet that he ate steaks all the time. So he made me steaks like every day. He cooked and cleaned because he had so much time in between trainings. Like, the amount of things I could come up with. My children were healthy. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 calls with Coach Inga because that was the only time zoned call that I could really show up to all the time. I was speechless. I started living my life and enjoying my life. And I started going to my husband's games and being his cheerleader and enjoying the games and making the most of what we did have financially and finding ways to supplement that in creative ways and being content. Now, did I do this perfectly? I will not sit here and say I did this perfectly. But wow, I was living again. Whereas before, I was just miserable and in fear and ready to blow my life up. And I forgot to say a really important part. Sage really asked me, she really sat with me in the reality of me leaving with the kids. And I wasn't trying to divorce him. I just told him, like, I'm just going to take the kids and go. I can't do this. I can't live like this. And he literally said to me, okay, don't think I'm going to come after you. I will be there when the season's over. He said that to me. He was done with my control games and manipulation. He said, no.
They weren't working anymore.
And he said, no. You take that and put it somewhere else. Elijah was not having the games anymore. So, so I went to Sage and truly processed that. Like, okay, what does this look like? She asked me good questions. I really thought through, like, what is your goal? What's your vision? And my vision was to have a family together, children who feel safe with their mother and their father, a thriving marriage, and a safe home where there's peace and God's presence is there and we are modeling his love and his forgiveness. And she's like, okay, is this step going to lead you there? Like, absolutely not. Yeah. And my oldest daughter was getting to the point where she could feel the tension. And there was something that I said in a fight like long before, and she hung on to that. And she started holding me accountable like crazy, like in the way she was mirroring, but then also like her behavior she was exhibiting was very clearly like she's doing what I do. And then also like things she would say to me. She's just like, Mommy, the way you talk to Daddy is not okay. And like, why did you say, I called him toxic one time in a fight, and she interpreted it as poisonous. And so she said that for a while, which was just like a knife in my heart. Like, why do you call Daddy poisonous? He's not poisonous. And so that night when I was sitting there thinking about it, my daughter walks into the room, doesn't know what conversations I've been having. And she literally looks me in the face and she goes, Mommy, you're never going to leave Daddy, right? And I was immediate, like, And I looked her in the face and I was like, no, I will never leave daddy. We're together. We work through things. Everything's going to be okay. Mommy's going to work on herself. Daddy's working on himself, and we're going to figure this out. And we're not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about that. And it was like I was saying it to her and to me and to God and to the world. In that moment, it was like, let me squash this right now and declare that I'm not doing this to my children. And so from there, things started changing. He ended up taking a job, and we ended up staying here, and he ended up giving up basketball on his own terms, on his own accord, because he felt like that was best for our family. And now he's making more money than he's ever made in a totally new career where they're already asking him to be in leadership. And one thing that I fell in love with is he used to write me letters. I see you working really hard. I see you being the best mom you can be. I see you, even when you fall down, you get up again and you try again and you take accountability. And I see you taking care of yourself. I see you shopping. I see you doing your nails and getting your groove back. And I like it. And he just like kept going and going and putting all these little winky faces. And he's like, you're like he said something like, you're a beautiful, renewed version of the woman that I fell in love with, more mature and more wise or something like that. Like it was beautiful. It was like poetic how he used to write me poems. And it was truly like he saw me and he wanted to express it. And he took the time to write me this letter. And I just read the letter probably 100 times and was just like, oh my God, thank you. And I just sat there with it like, thank you, God. I never thought this would be possible to get to where we are, to where I'm not even thinking about what he's doing. Like, it's not, I always thought when he never looks at something again, right? Like, that's the day that I can start living. That's the day we can live in our calling. That's the day we can have a whole family. And your skills just made me realize, like, that is not my job. And that is completely not for me to worry about. And I actually have permission to see all the good in him, which there's so much good in him. There's like over 90% good in this man, which is why I chose him, why I married him. And I was looking at the 5% and making it into 75%. And it was killing us both and hurting our children and hurting the entire environment. And like, you gave me permission. You taught me what I, for some reason, did not learn growing up and did not catch in my faith walk, even inside of a church building, of like the truth of God. Like, I truly think what you have created is making very practical and accessible ancient wisdom from the Most High. Like, it's all over the Bible, which is why I was even open to your work, because I was sure to test it first. Like, is this aligning with my faith, And truly, like, gratitude is a weapon. Like, it protects us from mental destruction. It protects our relationships. It arms us to be life givers and hope givers instead of creating more death and creating more destruction. And like, it gives us the oil of gladness instead of a spirit of despair, which is what I feel called to do in this world.
Wow. That was so beautiful. That was so moving. You said so many, you're so articulate too. You're so inspiring. And I am, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for your authenticity. And I love hearing that you were mad and it didn't stop you. None of it stopped you. Right. And you have had a miracle. You've had a miracle in your life. And I just want to just celebrate you for all the courage and the incredible commitment and the humility. Oh my gosh, the accountability and those apologies that you gave, and like being willing to use gratitude as a weapon, you said, to protect us. I love the way you said it. I'm gonna have to like listen to the recording again because it was it really touched me. And I just want to congratulate for a woman who is where you were, where she's her husband's accountability partner for his porn watching. She's just trying to make sure he doesn't betray her, that she doesn't have to worry every time, make him get a flip phone, right? Or move to a tent to make sure that he's not looking at things he shouldn't be looking at. Then he says he doesn't want to be looking at, and she needs to help him. But she's miserable, and she wants what you have now, where they're on that land and she is a coach and he's got a great job and she does trust him and she doesn't worry about that anymore. And she can see what a great man she has. What should she do? What is your tip for someone who is where you were?
I would say it is not your job. It is not your job to carry that at all. And you will break under the weight of it. And you probably feel that you're breaking under the weight of it. And it's because it's not a burden for you to carry. And I would say drop that burden at the feet of your husband and God, and remember who you are. Like, remember that you were created in the image of the Most High, that you are a light in this world, and that you're not supposed to put a blanket over a light. It's supposed to be on a stand to light up the world. And so remember who you are. Remember what you were created for. Remember that you have purpose and God-given identity, and that you only live one time. Don't allow your time to be stolen and eaten up by the locust. That is not God's will for your life. You can let go and trust, and you will be so thankful that you did, and you get to actually have fun. That will be / you get to have fun. You get to go roller skating in the sunshine, even if your husband is struggling. You get to go hang out with friends and laugh. You get to watch movies you enjoy, read novels you enjoy, like bask in the sunshine, and remember that you have access to get above the clouds. The sun is always shining up there, and there's tools to do that. You just have to learn, and you can learn. And it's okay that you don't know how right now. And there's practical things you can do to get up there above the clouds. And remember who you are. You are called to a greater purpose than to suffer and try to change your husband. You don't need to do that. There's enough within you that you get to work on and enjoy working on. And that is your burden to carry. That's the appropriate burden, and it will not crush you. It will actually bring you life.
Does your husband still look at porn?
I don't know. And honestly, it's not that it doesn't matter to me, because I love my husband, and that's not something that, he wants. And so I don't want that for him. And at the same time, the biggest thing that I learned, this is actually kind of funny. In those last couple of years when he was kind of sick of it, I guess one of his friends pointed out that the scripture I kept throwing in his face of if you even look at a woman lustfully, you've already committed adultery, right? The Yeshua Jesus standard, right? Raising the bar. Don't even look at a woman lustfully. So you're doing adultery. I have biblical license to divorce you, or whatever. He pointed out to me that in that scripture, he's like, well, if you even call someone raka or fool, you've already committed murder. So I'm the adulterer and you're the murderer. Shake on him. Great pair over here. So I would say, and I will go on record to say this, I was and can fall back into, if I don't take care of myself and get above those clouds, I can be verbally abusive and even spiritually abusive. And I tore my husband down like a shell of himself. And I can see now why his family was concerned. I can see now why his family was worried about him being married to me. And I get it now. I didn't see it then, and I wasn't trying to do that. I didn't know any better, so I'm not shaming myself. But now looking back, I can see, no, I was definitely verbally and spiritually abusive. He actually wrote me a letter at that last low, right before I got into relationship coach training, where he said to me, Stella, I cannot do this anymore. When you talk to me with those kinds of words, as a man, I don't know anything except for to hurt you, and I never want to do that. Don't talk to me this way anymore. He wrote me a 5-page letter expressing I am at my end with this, and I don't ever want to cross that line, and you have pushed me too far. And I truly did. And so the question, does he watch porn? None of my darn business. Do I yell? Okay. Do I cuss? Do I belittle my children? Do I question him and control him? These are all things that I ask myself every single day, because these are things that I'm still learning to grow in. And I'm not perfect all the time. I have fallbacks. I had a fallback just not that long ago. But guess what the difference is? I know how to clean it up. I know how to take accountability. I know how to make amends. And I know how to return to respect. And there's not a breakdown for the next week. It's for a few hours. And I'm not giving up that I'm going to be the kindest, most gentle mother and the most respectful, loving wife who builds up her husband and is a crown for him. That is what I'm aiming for. And that is enough questions and enough for me to worry about. The rest is for him to worry about, and he's worrying about it. I know that because he's a good man and he wants to walk in purity and he wants to walk in faithfulness. And so he's given me permission to share this story, which is amazing to me because I was definitely willing to not share any of those parts concerning him. But he knows that this will be life-giving because it will save marriages, because pornography is rampant, and not just with men. Women are watching it, kids are watching it. If you look at the statistics, the world we live in nowadays, it's highly addictive and it's highly accessible. And so I want freedom for him, myself, my children, and all other people. And this doesn't have to destroy your marriage.
What would you say to Stella if you could go back in time and tell her what you know?
Girl, chill. Chill out. Chill the bleep out. I would grab her by the shoulders. Stop. Okay. This isn't going to work. You're going to waste a lot of time, a lot of effort, and literally get wrinkles. Okay. Stop. Just stop. Like, you are good. It's going to be okay. Everyone has their process. Let it go and actually live your process, because you're stunting your own right now. And you get to enjoy life. Like, you are allowed to enjoy life no matter what is happening. Joy is, like, as children of God, it's our portion. He commands us be joyful at all times. Be filled with joy. Bring your prayers and petitions with joy. Like, it says, rejoice in suffering. You know, that really blew my mind, because all those years I was like, rejoice in suffering. This is some sick, twisted, what is happening? Like, I really felt some type of way towards Yahweh, because I was like, okay, I want to believe you're good, but rejoice in suffering. And now I view it completely different. I'm like, wow, gratitude is the way to rejoice in suffering. Like, this picture just carried me through relationship coach training of, like, my mind being renewed of, like, okay, life is like you're stuck in a little area with a big pile of dog poop and beautiful flowers. Okay. You're going to be right next to both. That's just life. And you choose what you move close to and sniff on and think about, meditate upon. And if you move towards that dog crap, good luck, because you're going to lose it. Okay. No one is pretty or dignified or respectful or relinquishing control when there is dog doo-doo in their vicinity. But if you move towards the flowers, their scent is so strong, it will bleed out. Like, you will not smell the poop. You can actually completely focus on the flower, how it looks, how it feels, how it smells. And if you stay there, you're good. You're going to make it. Your brain is not going to be traumatized. If you move back, you're going to go through the same process over and over and over again. And it'll probably take that until you learn that you actually get to stay right here. So choose the flowers, Stella. Choose the freaking flowers. You got a lot of them, and you're not looking at them right now. So look up. That's what I would say to her.
About your kids. Like, how has this impacted your kids?
I think they know that me and Daddy are going to be together, which gives them a lot of safety and a lot of, stability. My oldest daughter has seen I've got a lot of repairing over time to do, but she's learning how to take accountability. She's learning how to make amends. She's learning how to show respect, right? Everything I'm teaching her, she mirrors back to me. And the more that I do that consistently, they're learning that. And they're learning to respect their father. Like, we talk about how amazing their father is, right? Like, I build up their view of him instead of tear it down. My prayer for my children is that what is my ceiling in life will be their floor that they get to start on. And I believe that, especially in these skills, for my daughters especially, and for my son, that they will choose in such different ways and show up in such different ways to where their marriage starts in a very different way than mine did.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah. I mean, your family life sounds dreamy, and I get it's not perfect, and there's, things still come up and there's challenges, but I think you're your prayer for your children about the ceiling and the floor. Your floor is their ceiling. Wait, the other way. Whichever way it is.
Get the point.
It's yeah. I mean, I feel that it's such a blessing for the next generation to already have these skills to grow up with them, to have a mom who's accountable and humble and respectful, and models that and show, as treating their father with all that respect. No matter what. I admire it so much. And I've taken so much inspiration from this, and I feel like encouraged and, just thrilled to watch you. And I do want to congratulate you and give you my best wife award. Great job, Stella.
Awesome.
Amazing. Incredible. Incredible. Yeah.
All glory to God, honestly. I'm so thankful to have found you. I'm so thankful for his grace that carried me through those years. And I feel totally honored to get to be here and testify to that. I'm humbled and honored. So thank you for asking me to come.
Yeah. Yeah. You're saving a lot of marriages right now by doing this. And I also just want to extend my gratitude to Elijah for his vulnerability and stand for marriage too. And his generosity and letting you share so much so vulnerably. And I think so highly of him.
Oh, thank you. I will share that with him.
Thank you. Great job, Stella.
Thank you.
So here's an action Stella took to change her relationship that you can try tonight. It's simple, but powerful. Say, I can't. I can't. Here's how Stella used it. She felt responsible for helping her husband give up porn and would get distressed from hearing about it as his accountability partner. They had a longstanding pattern of having those stressful conversations, which she thought she had to be involved in, until one day she said, I can't have these conversations anymore. She realized there was more peace in putting his struggles with porn down and trusting him. She decided that conversation was more than her nervous system could handle, so she put it down. That brought her relief, shifted the responsibility of that issue off of her and onto her husband. And it put an end to a conversation that never went anywhere good. The phrase that helped her do that was, I can't. It was pretty transformational for her family. And she said it in a calm moment, not frantically shrieking like I did this morning when John was asking my feedback on the podcast edits he was working on, and I was too busy to stop what I was doing. But that's another story. Better if you can do it like Stella did it before you get desperate. What are you doing or discussing in your relationship that feels too heavy and stressful that you would like to put down with the phrase, I can't? It could be something you feel responsible for, like mopping the floor, filing the tax returns, or solving his work problems. I invite you to experiment with honoring your limits and your stress levels by saying, I can't, to whatever is feeling like too much for your nervous system to handle, even if you think it's your responsibility. Try it tonight. And if you want to do it with my coaches and thousands of other women who are also experimenting with saying, I can't, come join us in the Adored Wife community at adoredwife.com. Are you ready to try saying I can't? Okay, then go, go, go.